It occurs to me that I never introduced myself. So my name's Annmarie. I'm going to do the presentation today. There's a note at the top. It says introduce yourself. There's a star next to it. I just skipped that part. I'm a mom. I'm a writer, a teacher. I'm a sometimes kickboxer. I like a good karaoke. What else to tell you about myself? I went here. I don't know. I think a lot of the people I ran into, if not everyone, went here. So I'm not trying to say that as though I'm somehow spiffy, but when I went here, I was pretty spiffy. I had, I got good grades. I had amazing hair. It was like the late 80s, early 90s when I was here, and this was very fashionable then. But I also permed it because I felt like, my hair wasn't curly enough. I don't know who I was. But anyway, my plan at Duke, as far as I understood it, was to just keep doing the next right thing, whatever that was. Get the good grades, get the right classes, have the right GPA, apply to the right school after that. I just was going to do the next right thing because that's what I did to get here. And so I did a bunch of those next right things. I went to graduate school and I got a job in my field, and then I got married and I got a promotion, and then I had a baby, and then I took a little bit of time off, but then I went back, and then I got another promotion. I was still in my field and I felt good about it. Then I got pregnant again, and so then I took a little bit more time off, and then I went back to a different job, still in my field, but I didn't make as much money because I wanted to have time with the kids. And then I thought about interviewing, and I did interview for a really great job, and then I got pregnant again. Not that same day. I think those are unrelated, I think. And then I took some more time off. And somewhere along the line, doing the next right thing, the next thing I thought I was supposed to do, I got a little lost. And so in a typical week, I will drive my 3 children to their 3 different schools, what feels like 34 different times. I will pack 15 lunches, and we never have enough pirate booty or green grapes when they want red grapes, or red grapes when they want green. I spend a lot of time, like 127 different moments of my week, doing for them. And I did the next right things. I got to where I thought I was supposed to get. But sometimes I'll look back on a week and realize that I did maybe 2.5 things for me. And I feel not as balanced as I'd like to feel. And if I'm being honest, not as content or as happy as I want to feel. And more than anything else, I don't always know what the next right steps are for me. I know what the next right steps are for them. There's homework, they got to do it. There's clothes, I need to wash them. I get the next right steps, I think, for them. But I don't always have a list of what the next right steps are for me. And I know that I used to. And so one of the things that I want to talk about is whether we're overparenting them and maybe underparenting us, and how to seek and find a little bit more balance. It's 2020 after all. I feel like that's a good year, 2020. It sounds balanced. Let's pursue balance, and let's scheme a little and dream a little and see if we can think a little bit more about what we want to be when we grow up. So I asked you to, on your cards, list some activities, and thank you for volunteering. So yes, in the blue scarf in the front, I saw your hand. Thank you. Will you list from your, thank you. Will you list from your card, everyone's taken off their scarves. I love it. Will you just shout out 3 or 4 activities that you listed, or right now?
For my kids?
For your kids.
Team sports, dance, volunteering, time with their friends, Netflix, Instagram, homework, and school.
All right, excellent. Thank you. And then someone over here, yeah, sipping your drink. Thank you. Will you list, yeah, in the plaid. Will you list a few more activities off your card that kids you know or kids you like or kids you've heard of do? I gotta go louder than that because I have this microphone, but you don't. Exactly. Sipping your drink. Thank you. I was going to go on, but I saw you. So yeah, in the blue jacket, can you do a few more activities? my play dates. I used to love play dates. I had this crush on this one mom, and I would do my hair for her. She was beautiful. I loved her. Okay, just do like a little count of your activities. Anybody, just raise your hand if you've got more than 5 activities listed on that card. More than 5 on your card? Okay, how about more than 10? More than 10 activities on the card? Okay, 15? 15 activities on the card? All right. I'm glad we're here. Um, Not too long ago, this is a calendar in my house. That's just a little bit of it, but it all looks like that. It's insane. On a typical Monday, I would get my 3 kids from their 3 different schools and bring them home, and they would have 3 different snacks. And then Henry would go to piano, and he would complain the whole way there. And I would drop him off at piano, and I would bring Katie to travel volleyball practice, and I would drop her off, and then I would go back and get Henry, and then we'd swing over for Lizzie and take her to play practice, Mary Poppins. It was delightful. And then we would go and pick up Katie from volleyball, but then drop off Henry at basketball, but Katie didn't want to stay. So I would take her home. Then I would go back and get Henry from basketball and then go back and get Lizzie from Mary Poppins. And everyone's like, what's dinner? And I'm like, I don't know. And so we would go to Chipotle on the way home, and my daughter would text me her order, and they wouldn't have guacamole because it was so late. And then we would all be mad and angry. And then there was homework to do. And we did that every Monday. And I thought to myself, who's in charge of this nonsense? Who created this schedule? Whose idea was it for them to do all these stupid sports and stupid activities? And then I'm like, oh yeah, that was me. I made that schedule. I actually moved my full-time job hours so that after I put them in bed, I could finish the work, because that was a good idea. And so it's worth thinking, like, if you're sitting in this room, I hate to break it to you, but you are awesome. You are amazing. You are good at PowerPoint, and you are good at organizing, and people ask you for help at their weddings, and you've been a bridesmaid, and you, like, I would promote you if you were at my job and I don't even know what you do. You're amazing. You just are. But with that amazing comes like a little bit of crazy, right? So you're kind of cramazing, because you know what it took to be you. And so you know that your kids need to start speaking Mandarin when they're 2. And if they don't play travel soccer by 4.5, they are never going to make varsity. And if they're going to be in Mary Poppins and not be a chimney sweep, they've got to take voice lessons, and they've got to start now, or they won't get to go to school here, and they won't have this view. Look at this view, right? They're going to end up at some other school. So overscheduling comes from a place of love. It really does, because we know what it takes, and we want our kids to have everything. They're our kids. My gosh, we carried them and we fed them, and what did we do all that for? We wanted them to grow up and be amazing too. Which, again, it comes from a place of love. But if we're being honest, if we're overachievers, we should also look at the statistics that are out there about kids now, about the stress of activities that we are in charge of, right? Are we contributing to their joy, or are we contributing to something else? And I'll just read a few of them, right? In 2016, a majority of college students surveyed said that their mental health was below average. A majority. More than 50% of kids going to college said their mental health was below average. The American Psychological Association, they periodically survey for stress since 2013. Since 2013, every year since then, when you ask teenagers about their stress levels and adults about their stress levels, teenagers are off the charts. Teens feel more stress now than we do. And we have mother-in-laws, and we have mortgages, and stuff we can't pay for, and weight that we're trying to lose. And our teenagers are way more stressed than we are. And it's not just teens and college students. Our elementary schools, if you think back to yours, elementary school was 3 recesses, and it was gym and a long lunch, and sometimes there was a nap. And you went to kindergarten and you learned letters. My son just finished kindergarten. He learned paragraphs. He learned sentences. He did a report on Barack Obama. I have it hanging in my office. It's really good. You should totally read it. My daughter also did a report on Barack Obama, but it was at Halloween, and so she made a pumpkin Barack Obama. It was not as good, but that's also in my office if you want to see that. So the kids are starting to take their SATs and their ACTs in 7th grade and in 8th grade, and we are exhausting ourselves, and they're exhausting themselves. And when kids talk about what they want their parents to understand, they'll say things like, "You don't know how hard it is to be a kid." So it is worth asking on this sunny, freezing Friday what it is we want for our children and whether the decisions that we're making um, are making it happen. So we're going to talk about 5 strategies today, 5 strategies and one truth to maybe re-achieving some balance in 2020. So strategy number 1, I learned from Frozen, and I'm not going to sing it to you, but I could. Um, let's let it go. All right, Queen Elsa of Arendelle, in that case, had it right. Um, they don't have to do all those things. My son hates piano. He hates it. He tells me he hates it. He hates it every time he practices. He hates it every time he goes. I hate him every time I make him practice and every time I make him go. Why are we doing that? Oh, because he'll love it when he's older. When he's older, he can take piano lessons then. Why am I paying for him? Um, and in all seriousness, sometimes we take things that they love, and by signing them up to do them week after week, they don't love them anymore. My 10-year-old Lizzie was born half gazelle. She is one of those kids who runs places instead of walking because it's faster and she can get there faster, and her legs are long and her spirit is light. And when we moved a few years ago, I thought, what better way to harness that than to sign her up for a team? Cross country. It's running, she likes to run, and so we went. And on the first day, I had my computer with me, and they said, you should put that in the car because parents run too. I, I thought they were kidding. And I said, I'm not really prepared to run today. They said, that's fine. You can run with the slow kids. And so I ran, and I hated it, and she ran, and she hated it, and other people ran much faster, much farther. And if you run cross country, if you could just stay after and give me some pointers, because that was hell. And afterwards, she said, thank you, Mom, but I didn't like it. And I knew one thing and one thing only, which was we had to do it forever because I had signed us up and paid for it. And so we did the season. And I got shin splints, and I did this funny thing to my hip that has never quite been right. She felt ill before most meets, and I knew that Harbaughs are not quitters. And we were going to see this through because I want to have a resilient kid. And so she stuck it out, and I stuck it out, and we did it. We ran cross country. We've got a participation medal to prove it. And at the end of it, I got to thinking about, yeah, sure, I guess she learned some stick-to-itness. But what else did I teach her? I taught her that her opinion didn't matter, that mom's the boss, that mom's in charge. I taught her that when someone in a position of authority says something that you don't agree with, that you don't feel good about, you should just do it anyway. I taught her that speaking up doesn't amount to much. I taught her obedience. And as a woman, when I think back on the times in my life when I have maybe not done the next right thing, I think some of those lessons I just taught my kid were at play. When I didn't speak up in a workplace because I was afraid of getting in trouble, or because I thought someone else's opinion mattered more than me. And so it isn't just that we take them to activities they don't like. I think sometimes there is benefit to going to that church school for that reason that you have. There are some things we should do that the kids don't like, but they shouldn't all be that way. And we should think real hard about the lessons we're teaching our kids, because otherwise they're on that list of kids who are mentally stressed and more stressed than adults and taking the SATs and feeling like failures at the age of 13. And none of us want that for our kiddo. So consider letting them quit. That was my list of activities. Now, I didn't do it just for this year. That's the last 3 years of activities that my kids have attempted. And the lines are the things that we have let go. And I can tell you honestly, I was mad about the coding because I don't know what it is, but I feel like kids should learn it. And Recorder Club, don't do that one, you guys. It is the worst. I'll save you that. Oh, the youth chorus, she sung on the Severance Hall in Cleveland. I live in Cleveland, Ohio. It was beautiful. She had this black gown. She sang with the Cleveland Orchestra. It was amazing, and she hated it. And so I let it go. And it turns out she auditioned for her high school chorus, which is not as good, but they're going to Italy this summer. Whose chorus goes to Italy? So sometimes you quit something and something else opens the door, and it's okay. So look at your list right now, whether these are your kids or someone else's kids. Look at your list right now and put a little X or a frowny face or a question mark or a line. Your kids aren't here. I'm not going to tell them. Just see if there's anything that you can Elsa off of that list. You can let it go. I won't make you share those because they'll be the same. But if we are going to let our kids let go of things that we don't want them to do, that let go of things that they don't want themselves to do, then a second strategy for us to try when it comes to this overparenting is to let them pursue things that we don't like. So we don't want them to do it. It's not good on a college application, but they love it. And consider letting them do things that they don't love. And if you need research or stats to back that up, when you put kids in front of a task that you assign them versus a task that they choose for themselves, kids who choose for themselves thrive, even if the task is more difficult perhaps than you thought that they could handle. Teachers see this all the time. That's why you often will get a list of choices for particular projects. It's because when kids have ownership and agency, they feel like mastery is within their reach versus when it's assigned. So think about, can we let kids try things that we don't want them to do? Those don't even have to be formal procedures. They can be, Mom, I want to run up the sliding board at the park. Well, everybody else is coming down the sliding board, honey. Okay, I'll wait till they're done. Slides are for going down. Why? Because when they built them, your butt slides. I mean, when you find yourself explaining away these things that your kids are curious about, why are we doing that? Because we're afraid that the other mom at the park will think we suck because our kid's running up the slide and their kid wants to. No. Just have them take turns and be decent people, but let them run up the sliding board. I'll ask, did anybody run up the sliding board when they were little? Did anybody do that? It's great fun, right? I know that you're supposed to go down, but running up that's half the joy. So think about the ways that we shut down their curiosity and things that the kids want to do. Let them take risks. And if you didn't read the quote, not all my quotes are from cartoons, but a majority of them, you know you're in trouble if Dory is the one who's wise about it, right? Because you can't never let anything happen to them, because then nothing will ever happen to them. We want to wrap our kids in bubble wrap. We want to do this. But the things that made you you were the risks that you took and overcame. That's where your confidence comes from, right? When you saw that you could do something and you didn't die, when you jumped high and you leapt across and you did it, that's where confidence comes from. If you've had children, you can probably remember the first time you ever tried to leave the house with a baby. I wasn't there, but I can tell you what it looked like for us. We were going to go to a library sign language class. She wasn't old enough to sign, but it felt, it's never too early. So we're going to go to library sign language, and I'm going to feed the baby. So I fed Katie, and then she fell asleep, which I thought was perfect. So I put her in her pack and play, and then I changed my shirt, and I did my hair for that woman I told you about, and then I got a bottle and an extra change of clothes and an extra shirt for me, so in case we were messy, and then I went to get Katie in the car seat. Well, she didn't smell great, and I didn't want to have a smelly baby at the baby sign language, so I changed her real quick, and she had pooped, which is fine. I had learned by then to deal with it. And then she also wake up and peed. But she did that thing where the pee goes like down underneath and then gets on the onesie and gets on the thing, and so it's like everywhere. So I had to dunk her in the bath super quick. We were still going to make it. And then she was mad and she was sad, and I'm like, well, maybe she's hungry. So then I fed her again, and then she fell asleep. And so then I put her in the pack and play. We never made it to baby sign language, right? Because you can't get out of the house when you have a baby. You cannot do it. It's impossible. It takes 5 hours, and you miss everything, and you blame your partner because it's their fault. And they made this baby, and so the solution is to just stay in the house forever and to never ever ever go out anywhere. Except that also makes you crazy and angry, and you blame your partner. And so you have to go out, right? You have to be the woman in the art museum blow drying the pants or the sock that your child has peed on because you thought they were ready, but then they're not. And so you're at the art museum and you just keep hitting it, thinking, if I just stand here long enough, I will get these clothes dry and we'll be able to go see Picasso, because again, they need Picasso if they're going to go to college. Or I'll just take off one of my shirts, or I'll wrap them in this scarf and I'll make like a tunic and she can leave naked, but not really. You have to be that person. And if you haven't done it, there is still time. You can go to an art museum and have someone pee on you or themselves, and you can get out, and it is fine because adventures are worth the mishaps. It is worth leaving your house with these kids, and it's worth letting them take risks. They have made you stronger. Those of you who've had children right now could probably get them out of this room, in diapers or not, and into a car and to a museum in like 3 minutes, and we would just follow you because you've got the confidence to do it. And that came from taking the risk. And we have to pass that same risk taking on to our kids, which means doing things that they love that we don't, doing things they're not good at, doing things we don't want to do. I will give you an example. My son and daughters wanted to go canoeing. I know I probably look like a big time canoeer to you guys, but I'm not. My wilderness skills just aren't what I need them to be, and it's something I'm working on. But we went canoeing or kayaking. I actually don't know the difference. Again, if you know these things after, if you could just talk to me. We did it on the New River, and the guides pulled us over at one point next to this cliff and said, "Is anybody wanting to jump off of Jump Rock right now?" And I looked around, but there wasn't any rock. There was just the cliff. And I knew they weren't talking about that. Before I knew it, my kids were out of the boat, running up the cliff, saying, "Mom, come on." And I'm a person who doesn't like heights anymore. I used to, but since having children, all I can think is like, I want to keep them close. I don't want them to fall. And they're walking up to the heights, and I think I need to go with them to prevent them from jumping off this jump rock of death. And we got up there, and my then 5-year-old took my hand and said, "Will you jump with me, Mommy?" Well, I knew we were going to die, but at least we we're going to die together because I didn't want to show them cowardice. And so he took my hand, the other two counted to 3, and I actually am still a little shaky about it. 2 years later, we did it. And we took that risk together, and we laughed, and I was brave for them. Sometimes your kids, those same kids who keep you from getting out of the house, sometimes they actually can be a source of strength and power when you let them pursue something you don't want them to do. My daughters gave me a birthday present not long ago. It was called Spa Time. They went to the 99 cents only store. I don't know if you've been to this store. I don't recommend it necessarily for your spa needs. I don't entirely understand what they were going for. I'll tell you what we did. They soaked my feet in an icy cold bath. They slathered me with apricot, mint, lavender, we'll call them lotions, but they used what I think was a washcloth that hadn't been washed, so it smelled kind of like a moldy sock, and they rubbed it all in real good, and they just, at the end, they wanted to know, did I want a pedicure? And when your kids ask you if you want a pedicure on your birthday, the only answer is, of course. And they only had the one color, which I think the bottle said hooker hot pink. And that's what I got. And it was terrible. But it was also wonderful, right? Because on my birthday, they were telling me that they love me. And they know that I needed pampering and that I needed de-stressing. And they sought to bring me ease. Another way to risk is to let your kids do something that they are not good at. I'm not going to tell you which one my kid is, but it's okay for your kid not to. Okay, maybe I will. I'll give you a hint. A lot of the kids on the Junior Buffaloes team that year were playing a game that they like to call basketball. My son was river dancing. I mean, sweet baby Jesus in the morning. I had to go every week, and it was never any different. Well, it was different. This one time he started a game of tag, And he just said, "Tag, you're it." And then he ran down. And one of the kids followed him, and they started it, and the coach shut that down. He was terrible, but he was so happy. I wanted him to quit. I begged him to quit, but he loved basketball, Mommy. And so sometimes it's a risk to let your kids play something because most of your kids, I don't want to burst your bubble, but most of your kids are not going to play professional sports, right? They're not. Most of your kids aren't even like you are awesome and amazing, but most of your kids aren't even going to play college ball. And some of your kids, including mine, they are not going to be varsity. They're just not. And that is okay because this boy loves sports. He loves all of them and he plays all of them like that. And I drive him there and I am honored to be his mom because it is a risk I'm worth taking because that's the same kid who took my hand and made me brave that day and we jumped in a river. And there's a form of bravery at work here. So, if you're going to let them quit, and if you're going to let them pursue things that maybe you don't love, there should free up some time in your calendar for you. And if you fill that time with watching My Friends from College on Netflix, or if you fill that time with getting ahead on the laundry, I'm going to smack you. Because I'm not going to smack you. That's I don't. But you, if you get back some time in the schedules, what are you going to do with it? Right? What is the next right thing for you? They're covered, right? We got all those activities to do and all those activities. What about you? So our next strategy is to put the I back in family, and to do that, you got to remember what you love. So this is a Buddhist meditation minute, and it's simply if you've done it before, you can do it again on your card, or if you wrote really big, you can grab another. Let's fill in what we love. Let's remind ourselves what we love. If you've never done this activity, you just spend 1 minute and you say, I love, and the first thing that comes to mind. So I love French fries. I love, and then you feel guilty. So you say, I love salad. And then you think of green things. You're like, oh, I love St. Patrick's Day. And then I love this boy named Patrick who broke up with me, but I still love him. Whatever. You just fill in after love, fill in the blank, and I'll time us for about a minute. Does that make sense? Okay, so one mindful minute of I love, I love, I love. Go ahead. And if you're still writing down things that you love, that means that you have a life full of blessings, and I'm glad for you. And I'm moving you along not because I don't want you to think about that love, but just because they don't let us be in this room all day. And so keep in mind that there was way more that you can also put on that list. Next to it, or on a different part of the card, we'll do what I don't think is a Buddhist meditation minute, but what always goes hand in hand when I do this exercise is its antithesis, which is I fear, which is what I'm afraid of. And I won't make you share this part, so if you have to choose between being honest and being honest, be honest. I'm not going to make you, I won't call on you. But what is it that scares you? And you do the same thing. Sometimes people like to use afraid, if that's better. I fear tornadoes, or I'm afraid of the dark, or I'm afraid I don't love my husband anymore, or I fear sharks. It can be whatever. But we'll do another mindfulness minute and think about what it is that we fear. And again, they don't let us have the room, so I'll ask you to just look at both of those lists. We tend to think that things that we love are good and things that we fear are bad. But if you've ever dated a boy like Jess from Gilmore Girls, you know that sometimes we love things that are bad. And sometimes loving them isn't even all that bad because we learn about ourselves. And sometimes the things that we fear, yeah, I'm not going to recommend sharks, but you might study sharks and you're not afraid of them. But sometimes the things we fear are actually possibly pointing us in a direction we need to go. And we know that, and we just haven't overcome them yet. So I don't always think of them as two sides of every coin. But they do say that you should love what you do, and you should do something that you love every day. So look at the things that you love, and when's the last time you did those things? Are you making room for you in your life? That's what I wrote down. Not just now, because I had to PowerPoint it, but I wrote down that I love my kids and ice cream and chocolate and my husband, and don't tell him he came after chocolate, but he'll probably suspect it. I love musicals and Lin-Manuel Miranda and Hamilton and theater and storytelling and writing and being a writer and books and the smell of books. I love the smell of books. Reading to my kids and snuggling and sleeping in. Did anyone get amazing sleep last night? Maybe you brought your kids, which is a mistake, and you should not do that next time. I feel like a crazy person and amazing because no one at my hotel bothered me last night. No one asked me if I needed to go to the bathroom or told me they needed to go to the bathroom. No one needed anything from me. It's amazing. So stars next to sleeping, and coffee. And then when I did fear, that's what I came up with. And just like you should do something that you love every day, you should also take a hard look at the things that you fear, right? And ask yourself why maybe you aren't doing them. Now, some of them are very real. My dad is sick, so I think about my dad dying. And there's not a lot I can do about that except be with him. And so on those days when I don't drive my kids to all those activities, I'm being a daughter, and I'm grateful for that. Um, Not being in control is scary. You know, not knowing if my PowerPoint presentation was going to work today, or the weather was scary yesterday. Was I going to even get here? The jump pole at the zip line place I'm still working on. Oh, never losing the baby weight still working on. Bars with loud music where I don't know anybody. Don't like that. But I didn't know any of you before today. And I know some of you now. And you didn't know me, and you know me now. And being afraid of not knowing anybody, come on. Everybody you know now, you didn't know once. And so maybe that's not as scary as I think it is. And spelling words wrong. I'm a writer, and I'm not a great speller. I never have been. In the fourth grade, I was given the word guitar in the spelling test, and true story, I spelled it Giter, which is not how you spell guitar. And they go ding, and you sit down and you cry, and you know your life is over. I've never been able to spell, and I became a writer, which everyone thinks is weird because it's kind of like writing is spelling. It's not. Writing is words, and if you spell them wrong, they're still there. It's okay. But I get afraid that if I spell words wrong, people will think, oh, I shouldn't read your book. And those are things that we all can work on, right? So if you're looking at your fears and if you're looking at what you love, you should start to make room for yourself to either confront a fear or to do what you love and to know that that matters. Those times when you're feeling lost in your own life, is it because you have lost yourself and your family? And again, that comes from a great place. You love your children, you love your partner, you love them, and sometimes you love them so much more than yourself that at the end of the day, you didn't do anything for you. And so, if there's any room on that card, and if not, there are more, I'm going to ask you if you had some magic, if you had a little bit of magic, what do you want to do? What is your next right thing? So, when I say magic, sometimes that confuses people. So, like a little bit of magic takes a hobby and turns it into a career. It takes a part-time job and perhaps makes it a full-time job, or you're in charge. It takes a dream and it makes it a reality. A little bit of magic can do that. A lot of magic is required to be like a unicorn trainer. And if that's what you want, I fully support you. Like Hermione the Granger out of that. That is fine. But a lot of magic is not what I'm talking about because that's going to take like more time than we have. So if you had a little bit of magic, what would you like to be when you grow up? And if you could write that down, it could be more than one thing. And if you hadn't thought about it in a long time, think about it now. What do you want to be? What are you dreaming about? What's your next right thing? Go ahead and write that down. So when I was first given that question, I said that I wanted to be a published author because I was a writer, but I had never published a book. I wanted to be a published author. I wanted to drive around with books in the trunk of my car in a cardboard box, and then when I saw like an independent bookstore, I wanted to go in with a book and tell them I wrote it, and could I put it on their shelf, and if they said no, sneak it on there anyway and run away. And I don't write that down anymore because I did that. All of those things. I did that. And sometimes if you really want a thing, it needs to go from your heart and your head, and it needs to come out your hand, and sometimes you need to say it out loud to yourself in a room full of strangers when a crazy lady asks you to make it real. So I'm going to give you a choice right now. Option one is to, with the person next to you or across from you or nearby, tell them if you had a little magic what you want to be when you grow up. You probably won't ever see them again, so if you say something like unicorn trainer, they're not going to judge, or they'll judge, but you won't know. If that is too much, like if this is something you've been carrying around in your pocket and you've never said out loud until today, I would encourage you to say it to yourself. But then so you won't seem too weird, maybe go to your things that you love, and share that instead. So find a partner or a group of 3, someone, introduce yourself, tell them your name at the beginning, which is not what I did. And tell them what you want to be when you grow up if you had a little magic. All right. Sometimes when I get a chance to talk, I don't want to ever come back. I just want to chat. I totally get that. We could sing "Take Me Out to the Ball Game" and like do a seventh inning stretch. So hopefully part of sharing what you want to be when you grow up was that you've got a dream that seems possible. But for a lot of us, when we're raising kids, our dreams seem impossible. I don't know where to find the time to pursue the things that I want to do. Now, when I answer this question, I say I want to be a writer who sustains myself and my family with the income I make from my writing and speaking. That's my next magical goal. But I don't always know how to make that happen or where to find the time. And I think as parents, it can be easy to look at, for instance, what it took to get here, the lists that you had to make, the babysitter you had to tell about the lunch that needed to be packed, or your husband who still doesn't know the kids' teachers' names, and you've got to ask him why it's February, and he doesn't know that your son's in Mrs. Hardin's class and your daughter's in Mrs. Hannah's class, and that's why he needs to write the note about chess club. All the things that you had to do to extract yourself. It's just so much easier to stay there, right? Just stay with them and not dream. It's so much easier. We make those excuses. But remember that sometimes that bravery comes from doing this thing for your children, to being the woman that you want them to see, to being the woman that you want them to know that you are, because you know that you are, but it's in your pocket and they don't always get a chance to see it. So when we're talking about going for dreams, one of the strategies that I have to combat is the things that hold us back, the things that keep us from going after what it is that we want. And we all have them. I put some of them on my list, but what is it that stands in the way of you doing that thing? Well, sometimes it's just that you think it's impossible. I couldn't do it. I couldn't own my own business. It'd be so much work. I don't know how to do that. Sometimes we convince ourselves that it can't be done. And I used to do this yoga class when I lived in LA, and it was run by this guy named Michael. He was our yogi. He had been a banker, corporate money person guy, and he was downsized, and then he lost his wife, but then he found yoga, and then he would teach this class on Sunday nights right by the Pacific Ocean. So when I parked my car in the summer months, I could see the ocean, and in the winter when it was dark, I could smell the ocean, and it's like the best way to go to yoga. And Michael was all about challenge by choice. So if you couldn't do, I don't know how many of you do yoga, like if you couldn't do that one with like, I think it's called eagle, but you're supposed to like do this and do that. I couldn't do that one. And then there's this other one you were supposed to like reach. I have no flexibility. So I would just like opt out of the hard ones. And he was fine with that because, challenge by choice. And so get in child's pose, let other people do the crow. And then one day Michael wasn't there and this pregnant woman showed up. Her name was Cheryl. And she was visibly pregnant, not like 2 months baby bump pregnant, but like maybe we're going to have to deliver the baby on the mat pregnant. And Cheryl said, tonight I want us to work on handstands. And I was like, okay, sure. And I just thought she was going to have people do their handstands, and I was fixing to go in my child's pose. And then Cheryl kicked up in the middle of the room, pregnant, and did a handstand. And she said, this was absolutely impossible. So it just took me a little longer to achieve it. And I thought, well, if pregnant Cheryl can hold a handstand and recite quotes, I can stick myself in the corner and kick up, and I did it. And for like a second and a half, I held like the best 6-year-old circus amazing handstand I've ever held, and it felt triumphant. And if you had asked me if I could do it, I would have told you no, it was impossible because my wrists and that hip from cross country, all the reasons. And sometimes the things you tell yourself are impossible, you just haven't tried it. Now, I know unicorn trainer, for those of you who are still going for that is a stretch, and I get it. It's going to be hard. I'm not sure. So some things are impossible, but a lot of the things we tell ourselves we can't do, we're not making time for. We're not making space for our dreams because we are held back by envy, fear of failure, self-doubt. Do you have any idea what it was like to say yes to coming here today? You guys are all awesome, and I have to talk to you. Terrifying, right? You doubt yourself. Can I even do this? Will they like me? But where does confidence come from if not putting yourself out there and trying it? Envy? Yes, there are other realtors who sell more houses than you do. There are other writers who sell more books than I do. There are other companies that make more money. We're always going to be able to find someone who does the thing that we like to do better. So what? Learn from that person. Seek out a mentor in your field. If I want to sell more books, I can probably ask one of you how you did it. I can call you up and say, you're amazing. Can I buy you a cup of coffee? Instead of letting envy be the reason we don't do something, let envy point us in the direction that we want to go. When I was in third grade, we had a poster contest for Arbor Day. We were big on Arbor Day in Cleveland, Ohio, and I was fresh off the Canavanarama, which was the other poster contest we had. I came in 10th place in that poster contest. I didn't know at the time that 10th place meant I came in like last. But I was feeling good about the poster contest. So for Arbor Day, we were doing our tree posters, and I wrote a poem because I was into that then, and it was called, "What Does It Feel Like to Be a Tree, Swaying Your Branches and Shading Me? Does it hurt when you get stung by a bee? Do you ever get dizzy when you see three people going round and round?" I had a hard time with that line. It went on for about 20 or 30 lines just like that. And I started off really good, and then the spacing got a little off, so the words were pretty big at the top, and then it got a little smaller and smaller, and I had to squeeze them in at the bottom, kind of like Star Wars, but not as good. And I still thought I was going to win because everybody else, they were just drawing trees, and I had written a poem about a tree. And so when Mrs. Terp announced that Tracy Davis had won for her picture of a tree, and I hadn't won for my poem about a tree, I was pissed. And so at recess that day, I said, we will be playing three square today. And so, Tracy, I'm sorry we don't have room for you because it's three square today. So you're going to have to go somewhere else with your tree poster because there's no room here. And Tracy cried, and I got in mad trouble. Mrs. Terp was not having it, which is right, because I was being, this is being recorded. So, Tracy, if you're in this room or if you're out there, I mean it. I am sorry for being such a D-bag in the third grade. And if you ever are up for a game of three square or four square or five square or tetherball, I am your girl. And I am sorry that I let my envy get in the way of our friendship. I could have learned things from you. I could have learned spatial. I still struggle with that. Like, PowerPoint is a pain for me because I always, just saying, I'm sorry that I let envy get in the way of where I wanted to go. And if you've ever done it, quit it. Knock it off. Learn from the Tracys in your field. Learn from the things that you want. Learn from the magic in your pocket that you want, and follow those dreams. Failures, fear of failures are the decorations that are going to make your garage that houses your origin story interesting. Think about that. Nobody wants to hear an origin story about how you tried a thing and got it on the first try and were awesome all the time. That story sucks. No one wants to hear that. They want to hear how you tried it and you failed. And you tried it again and you failed even worse. And then you kept at it, and little by little I would come to that TED Talk, right? That's the person you want to be. Failures make you interesting. You're not always going to be able to do the handstand. You're not always going to achieve the dream. But don't let yourself and your dragons and your envy and your fear and your doubt be the reason you didn't even try. We have to slay those dragons. Otherwise, we sit there with our kids and we're angry at them. We're angry at our kids, and then we're angry at our spouses, and we're angry at ourselves. And we don't want to be like that. I don't want to be like that. Okay, so I said we would do 5 strategies. So somewhere on this slideshow, there's one more. Self-doubt. Let's combat it right now. We are afraid to ask people to like us and know us and wonder about us. Right now, get out your phone, check what time it is, see how much longer this crazy lady is going to yap at you, and then on your social media platform that you have, I had 2 Twitter followers. They were both my mother because she had a real account and then another account. And she didn't even know because she doesn't know technology, and she only signed up for Twitter because the Reverend was Twittering. She didn't even try. So, well, I get it, but there's probably a platform. It's Instagram, it's Snapchat, it's TikTok. It's something about you. It's a website that you wrote or shared or has written about you. It's your job. I don't care. I want you to spend the next 2 minutes overcome the fear that the person next to you isn't going to like your Pinterest page or is going to think that the website you built isn't good, and tell them what it is you're about. Ask them to follow you. Just do it. Get your phone out or pretend, oh, I don't have Instagram. Then you can listen to the people around you. So overcome some fear right now. You can do it. All right, I legit just got 2 more Twitter followers. Bianca and Katie, thank you. Brings my total up to 4. As women, we have this idea that we're supposed to be perfect and amazing, and no one is ever supposed to know how hard it is to be perfect and amazing. We have this idea that as women, we should wear the right things, and we should raise the right kids, and we should do the right activities, and we should make it all look effortless. In fact, Dr. Donna Lisker was at Duke until 2 years ago. She coined this. You might have taken her in class. She and her students studied the undergraduates here at Duke and studied the way they had to look and eat and be and date perfectly. And they actually coined the term effortless perfection, right? That's what we strive for. Women believe that perfection is attainable and we should go for it. And that is nonsensical, right? Perfection is not attainable. There's no way to be perfect, to act perfect. It's not possible. And I think that when we think that we're going to be perfect, it holds us back from strategy number 5, which is asking for and receiving help. Someone in your life at one point told you that not being able to do it by yourself meant you were weak. Someone told you that asking for help or needing help meant that you were weak, which is foolishness. And if you haven't learned that lesson yet, let's start today, because you cannot do this by yourself, and you should not do this by yourself. Have you ever been to one of those wine book clubs where you're the only one? That's no fun. Oh, it's fun in a little bit, then it's not. It's like a disease, and you should totally get help for that. See me after. But you don't want to do this by yourself. Stop trying to do this by yourself. Stop expecting yourself to be perfect, and be on the lookout for people who can help you. You don't believe me? Okay. Look at your magic thing right now. Look at where I asked you, if you had a little magic, what did you want to be when you grew up? And who will overcome doubt and tell us theirs? We're not going to judge you. We're here. Tell us what you want to be when you grow up. Yeah.
So, here, actually, I have this.
I forgot it. What's your name?
Elizabeth.
This is Elizabeth. Hey, guys, let's give it up for Elizabeth.
All right. Oh, goodness. Okay, I've been talking to a microphone. So I'm active duty Navy, so I have kind of an expiration. I will retire from the Navy 20 years in about 8 years. So I have to figure out what literally I want to do with my life when I finish that. So the thing that I would like to do is combine kind of 2 of my interests. I've always loved to cook. I've loved to bake. But then kind of like elderly homelessness has always been just an issue that has really just like, I don't understand it, and it just makes me really sad when I see it, and particularly the veteran addition to that piece. And so, having been a veteran, I'd love to open a restaurant that employs homeless veterans and gives them a place to live, but then also kind of they move out of that program, they get skills, and then they move, and you bring people in. And so, really, kind of like a nonprofit restaurant. And the people have done that with like people recovering from like drug and alcohol issues, and so. I don't know. So that's sort of my dream, what to do.
Thank you so much for sharing, Elizabeth. And so if I'm Elizabeth, and I'm not, but if I'm Elizabeth, I'm looking around this room and around this conference and about this university and on LinkedIn, and I'm thinking about who else is a veteran. My husband was in the Navy. He totally connected with this woman in LA who's trying to eliminate homelessness and believes it is possible. So I should totally get you the name of that woman so she could start. So when we're here, I asked you at the very beginning what you wanted out of this weekend. And if what you wanted was a good night's sleep and a glass of wine and laughter with old friends, that is awesome. And you should totally do that. But you should also carry your card around with you in your pocket, and don't forget about that impossible dream. And you should ask other people what they're working on. and find the other women in this conference and in this world who can help you sprinkle some extra magic on that thing you need magic for and make it possible. It seems impossible, and it really isn't. So right now, last activity, I promise, I want you to do a round of speed dating, and I want you to talk to someone else about their magic, not the person you talked to before, but find out. So if you're a veteran or you know about homelessness, get up out your chair and go talk to Elizabeth. But otherwise, work this room, find somebody else who can help you with your impossible dream. Okay, I don't even want you to go back to your seat. You're totally fine where you are. What you're doing right now, this is what you need to do this weekend. These kinds of talks. You should totally chat with other people about the wine and cheese at the event that you go to. But this right here, pursuing your impossible made possible handstand of a dream, get out of your comfort zone and talk to people about what you're passionate about. This right here is what this weekend is for. And if you don't believe me, do it for them, because they are watching. If you're always going to put yourself second and third and fourth and fifth in your own life, I can gosh darn guarantee it that your kids, especially your daughters, will grow up and do the same thing. So if you can't do it for you, do it for them. And find members of your tribe all over the place today. Stick around, find one another. It has been my honor and privilege that you gave me a few moments of the time you could have been eating chips. My name's Annmarie. If you want to follow me on Twitter, that's me. Thank you guys so much.